Hi my love, so I'm in labor and delivery now. They decided to induce my labor today. I actually had an appointment with MFAC, and my son is fine, I'm fine. They just wanted to induce my labor because of the weather, and they just think it would be better if he's out than in. So he weighs about 5 pounds 11 ounces now, so he's definitely going to be a tiny baby, but they're inducing my labor right now. It is 2:28. I got here at 9, and I got in the room at about like 11. They did do a vaginal examination, and I was LTP, which is long, closed, and posterior. So I wasn't dilated or anything like that, and that was at 10:43. And then at 10:38, they put in the Cervidil, which helps to ripen up my cervix, and I'm starting to feel contractions. Well, not contractions, I guess it's starting to hurt from my cervix, I guess, ripening up. I'm not 100% sure. My water wasn't broken yet, so they'll be checking me at 11:38 p.m. tonight. So my son should be here between tonight and tomorrow, and I'll come back and vlog some more. So yeah, I'm just gonna relax and probably take a nap, and I will vlog a bit later. So I am here to do my labor and delivery story. You guys saw my 39-week update. I basically got shocked with a induction. I had to get induced because they were concerned about my son's weight. I wasn't concerned because even throughout my entire prenatal care, my doctor told me my son was going to be on the small side because I was born a premature baby. I had to stay in NICU for a month, and I was born 4 pounds, so that wasn't a problem for me, but I can understand the doctor's concern. And also, if he would have stayed to 40 weeks, I would have had to have a C-section, so they wanted to give me the opportunity to push him out. So, like I said, I had my MFAC appointment that same day at 9 o'clock in the morning, and I said that the baby was 5 pounds and 11 ounces, which was measuring about 35 weeks and 3 days, and my fluid was at 8.5. So they decided to induce my labor. That way I could have the chance to have vaginal birth instead of a C-section, because they don't believe in cutting open a healthy young lady. I'm 22. I was healthy. They didn't believe in cutting me open right away, because after you have a C-section once, your next couple babies have to have a C-section, and you can only have up to 3 kids after that. So I was fine with that though. But I will say my nurses that I had while they was inducing me were outstanding. They were amazing, kind, sweet, funny. They made sure that I was comfortable the whole time. I truly enjoyed it. Okay, in the hospital I delivered at wasn't Einstein. It ended up being North, but honestly, I'm kind of happy. North wasn't as bad as it looked as bad as it was when I went to the hospital tour. So, okay. So, I basically got settled into a room. They gave me breakfast, and then they started. So I had a vaginal exam at, what time was it? 10:43 a.m. And they said I was LCP, long, closed, and posterior, which was my cervix. Which I knew because at all my appointments, my doctor said I wasn't dilated and I was still closed and pushed back. So it was a surprise. So they induced me at 11:38 with 10 mgs of Cervidil. And it's basically a strip of medication that they stick right behind your cervix. That thing scratched my vagina and it hurt, and they basically had to leave it in for 12 hours. So 12 hours labor right there. I started to feel contractions a lot more, but they were bearable. They weren't like painful, because I guess it was opening up my cervix and whatever, and helping me to soften up. That thing made me swollen and sore as ever. I did not like it. It hurt to pee. It hurt to lie down. And they said that's the side effect for the medication for some people. So I was kind of unhappy about that, but I dealt with it. They came and checked, all the time. But at 9:30, the doctor came in because I could not deal with the pain anymore. So I went about 10 and a half, 11 hours with the pain because it was gradually picking up, and I can't even deal with my menstrual cramps, because one thing about my menstrual cramps get worse every period. They don't stay consistent. They're worse every period. So I already kind of knew what contractions would feel like, and I just was not able to deal with it. So They gave me the first epidural at 9:30. And yes, I say first. I'll explain why I had another one. So they took out the Cervidil at 9:50 p.m. and they were supposed to leave it until 11:30, but they took it out because I was extremely sore. And all that pain I was feeling, because even they saw the contractions, they were so confused that I only made it to 1 centimeter. So that was a problem. I was a little bothered by that. And then they gave me an oxygen mask because my blood pressure was up and down, my temperature was going up and down. They gave me an oxygen mask. My water ruptured twice. It ruptured at 10:35, and then they stuck in a catheter, a Foley catheter, into my urethra at 10:45 because I already had the epidural and I didn't want them to do any work on me down there until I had the epidural because I was already sore. So that was that. I had dilated 2 centimeters by 1:30 a.m. and this is now on the 13th at 1:30 a.m. My water broke completely between 3 o'clock, 3:25 a.m. and just kept popping and gushing out. So that was cool. I was kind of happy that they didn't have to do it themselves. The progress I was making, I was happy because in my head I was already told I wasn't able to have vaginal birth. I lost my mucus plug at 3:22 a.m. when my water broke, so when they was cleaning me up, the mucus plug was coming out. So that was another thing. So then, about 4 o'clock in the morning, they gave me, it was about 4 or 5 o'clock, they gave me a second thing of epidural because the first guy that did my epidural, I told him I only felt numbness and warmth. I felt the warmth in both my legs, but only my left leg was getting numb, not my right, but I was able to deal with it. But when I say the contractions had gotten so much worse, because after that they put me on Pitocin. And I don't have Pitocin, so it just kept speeding up. And what happened was, epidural was working, and then all of a sudden I had a sharp pain on my right side from the contraction, and then from my back being sore, and then my vagina being sore. So I had felt a lot of pain, and the doctor, like the second anesthesiologist, kept coming in and putting something, I don't know what the name of it is, but he kept pumping something into the epidural. And it would work for 20 minutes, we're off. Then the left side started bugging out. I was like, alright, he did it again. And I was like getting frustrated because they kept trying to give me natural birth when I knew from the start I was supposed to have a C-section. So, whatever. At 3 p.m., I was about 4 centimeters. So, I had only dilated to 4 centimeters at 3 p.m. the next day, which was February 13th. And my mother and my fiance was getting frustrated. I was fine. I told the doctors, as long as you can keep the pain under control, I will try to have natural birth. I didn't have a problem with it, but even then, when they induced me, they said it would take 24 to 48 hours. So I wasn't shocked at all about the time. Like, the doctor even told me, Dr. Gary was the guy that induced me. He told me from the start it would take 24 to 48 hours with the induction. So I was cool with that. So, like I said, 3 p.m. the next day, I had only got to 4 centimeters. So at that time, they wanted to take the monitors off my belly and monitor the baby from the inside. So the same monitors they put that keeps track of the baby's heartbeat and contractions, they put it on the inside of my vagina. So I had that on. I got to 6 centimeters by 5 p.m. So on my own, I made it about 5 centimeters of the way. With the Cervidil, I made it 1 centimeter. So 6 centimeters to me was an accomplishment. Maybe not to some people, but to me it was, because, like I said, I was told I wasn't able to have vaginal birth because my birth canal is really narrow. At that point, at 5 p.m., I was getting aggravated because the pain kept coming back. So the new anesthesiologist came and just redid my whole catheter in my back with the epidural. And when he did it, I completely felt both my legs go numb. Mind you, my left leg was already numb the hell out. I couldn't move it. It was heavy. I just couldn't feel it or anything. My right leg, I still had a little bit feeling in it. But when he redid the epidural, it was perfectly fine. So I was like, alright, cool. I went by, the pain came back. He came back and put the medicine in the epidural. Another hour went by, he came back. He put the medicine in the epidural. I was to the point where, like, you guys cannot keep the pain under control. My mother was frustrated because I was bawling tears. I was trying not to curse people out because I didn't want to be one of those crazy people. My fiance was getting frustrated. It was just crazy. Like, my mother and my fiance was getting extremely frustrated and rude and everything to the people because I was in excruciating pain. I mean, not just from the contraction, because whatever he was putting in me kept wearing out. My back was hurting, and I felt the soreness in my vagina. And when she checked at 6 p.m., at 5 p.m. to check my cervix, I felt her hand, so that was even more painful. So I was like, I can't do it anymore. Just give me the C-section. I'm not going to try it. And that's when my fever had went up. So my temperature went up, and I had a slight fever. So he was like, fine. I scheduled my C-section for 8:30 p.m. Still on February 13th. So they basically gave me more medication, and I was in hell of pain. Hell of pain, because both sides started hurting. My legs were cool, but my back was sore. The contractions were super, super strong. 5 minutes apart. Then they went down to 2 minutes apart, and they wasn't understanding why my cervix wasn't opening up, because they saw the contractions. So they was just like, it's time to take the baby out, because my water had broke. That's another thing. When my water did break, they did put fluid back inside, so it was coming back. It was coming in my womb and then coming back out, because they really wanted me to try. But at this point, it was just like, your temperature's going up, the medication's not working, C-section. So 8:30 they planned it. I didn't go into the room till 9 o'clock because they had someone in C-section. And I realized the day that I got induced, all those 2 days, a lot of people were having C-sections. So, don't know. But, went to C-section. They kept poking my hands. I don't know, I have one here, here. One here, like, my arms are all scarred up. One here. Like, if I could show you guys, it's crazy. And then, like, a lot of the tape that they use is still stuck, especially the one on my leg where they had the catheter in the urine bag. That tape is stuck, and I tried to take it off with water. When I'm able to get into the shower, I'm going to be doing a body scrub, because the tape is crazy. But yeah, so they put more medicine, put the IVs in both my hands, and started pushing on my stomach or whatever. And I kept saying I felt pressure, but I wasn't sure if it was pressure because I felt his nail as well. But I was getting upset, and I was like, well, can they at least try to put the blade to make sure I don't feel the blade? And one of the doctors in there was like, well, you're already cut open. I was like, wow, okay. So they did it. They was pulling, and I felt all that pressure, and it was aggravating. But my baby was born at 9:23 p.m. He weighed 6 pounds and 1 ounce, and he was 19.4 inches long, which was good enough for me because I wasn't expecting a 7-pound, 8-pound baby. I was 4 pounds, and all my siblings were about 6.5 pounds, because my mom had 4 C-sections, and they basically tell you your pregnancy is the way your mother's pregnancy was. So I knew from the start how my pregnancy would go. I knew my baby wasn't going to be big because I'm not big. That's just that. So after that, apparently I did see my son and I kissed him, but I don't remember it because, like I said, I was drugged out. I thought I dreamt that part, but when they took him out, my fiance was like, he looks just like me, my complexion. He looked just like me. He had a full head of hair. He was really, really long. It was cool. My fiance didn't get a chance to cut the umbilical cord because when they wanted him to, I felt so much pressure that I screamed pressure, and he quickly put his attention on me, so the doctor had to cut it. So that kind of sucked, but I'm glad he did pay attention to me when I screamed that I felt the pressure. That was really, really sweet of him. So then after that, they stitched me up, sewed me up, and then as I felt them stitching me up, I completely knocked out. When I woke up, I don't know what time it was, but I was back in triage, and basically after a C-section, they put you in triage for 24 hours for recovery. So the whole day of Valentine's Day, I was in triage recovering. They put magnesium in me and antibiotics and stuff because I had a fever. They had the IV in me and everything. And when you're in triage, the only thing you can have is ice chips. So the 12th, the 13th, and the 14th, all I could have was freaking ice chips. No, the 13th to the 14th till about 1 a.m., all I could have was ice chips. I was pissed off because I was hungry. 3 days, no food. It was torture. But, I was in triage for 24 hours, and then I didn't get to a room till about 2:23 a.m. on the 15th. So my labor was 43.5 hours, and it took an hour for prep, so about 44.5 hours was my labor. That was crazy. So now on to recovery. Like I said, I spent 24 hours in triage, no food, no water, no nothing. Like, I just had to take the ice just because the magnesium in my body could cause a seizure and stuff like that. But honestly, I'm going to tell you now, I was snacking on ginger ale, french fries, and chocolate wafers. I didn't care. I was hungry. I was frustrated. I was eating because I wanted to eat. Nothing happened to me, thankfully, but I was just getting aggravated because I wanted to eat. So yeah, like I said, they gave me magnesium and antibiotics, and I was done on the 15th at 11:30. No, on the 14th at 11:30. So like the whole day of Valentine's Day. So the 12th and the 13th, I was in labor. My son was born on the 13th, and then the 14th, I stayed in recovery and triage till about 11:30. Now, after they watch you for 11:30, for 12 hours, you have to stay there for an hour or 2 hours so they can make sure you're good. So I didn't leave triage till about 2:23 a.m. to a room on the 15th. So when they took out the IV and stuff, the doctor told me that I could eat. The doctor told them to get me something. These people was complaining, and they ended up giving me a wheat roll with some butter and jelly and some orange juice. I dogged it down, but I was pissed off because I wanted food. I wanted crackers or something. They just didn't want to give me anything. Another thing, when they kept checking me, they were surprised that my stomach was really, really soft. I was gassy, and it wasn't hard for me to, pass gas. So I was passing gas perfectly fine. My stomach was fine. And on my legs, they had these kind of like massaging bands that would push. I don't know. It would massage each leg one by one, and I guess that's to make sure there's no blood clots or anything, and make sure the blood is flowing. So I had that on for the whole day of the 15th. So when I left, I had a shared room with another young lady, and she was awesome. She had a C-section too, and her son was in NICU. They had put my son in NICU because I had a fever, and they wanted to ensure that he was perfectly fine, so they kept him in NICU the whole time. So I didn't see my son until the 15th. He was born on the 13th. I didn't see him on the 14th. I saw him on the 15th. So 2 days basically until I saw my son. I didn't complain though because I knew that I had to be taken care of, and I knew they had to make sure he was cool. So I was okay with that. They had given me Percocet or oxycodone, that's what they call it. They gave me Motrin as well. And then they gave me a blood thinner fragment in my arm, in my right arm, to ensure that I wouldn't have a blood clot or anything. So, even in my room, I had awesome nurses. They were super awesome, to the point where they bathed me. They bathed me completely fine. And this may sound disgusting, but I have to mention it because this is what happened when you have a C-section. I still had the Foley catheter in me, and I thought I had gas because I was passing a lot of gas, because that's what happens. And when I went to pass gas, it was not gas, it was bowel movement. So I freaked out, not freaked out, but I was just like, okay, I need them to take the Foley catheter, I need to go to the bathroom. And the nurses was like, no, it's fine, it's fine. But I just wasn't comfortable with that, so I kept it in as much as I could. They took the Foley catheter out, I went to the bathroom and passed gas and bowed and peed at the same time. So they was actually happy about that, because not a lot of people can do that right after the C-section. So my C-section, according to the doctor, was clean, smooth. I didn't lose a lot of blood. Only thing he saw was that my bladder was swollen, and that's basically from gas. So that's why I had a lot of gas, and I'm still gassy here and there. But yeah, my vagina was swollen to the max. Like, it was painful up until the night of the 15th. So I had to deal with that, and it was really hard to sit down, lay down, and things like that. I did not do a lot of walking while I was there, because I didn't feel like walking. I did walk to my bathroom, and I walked around the room, but like walking to see my son didn't happen. When my fiance was there, he made sure I was in a wheelchair. So he wheeled me there, wheeled me back. The last day that we stayed, I did walk there and walk back, because they were sick of me in the wheelchair. So that's what happened. But my labor and delivery and my recovery at the hospital were pretty cool. It was a great birth. That's all I can say. My son is healthy. He's beautiful. He's handsome. He is my twin all the way. But he will have my husband too. Not my husband yet. My fiance's skin complexion for a fact. But he looks just like me when I was younger or when I was a baby. My hair texture, my eye color. He's my twin all the way is what I can say. He looks just like me, and he has hints of my fiance as well. But that's my jelly bean. That is my twin. So that's it for this video. I'm gonna do another video on the discharge and how home recovery has been. So if you guys want to check that out, check out the next video. And if not, I will see you guys later. Bye.